Hello. Welcome to the second video in this series about graph visualization in Grafana. If you haven't watched the first video yet, I highly recommend watching it before continuing with this one. In the previous video, we looked at what happens when our data source is Prometheus and how the graph behaves with the relevant query parameters. Today, we'll look at a different type of data source, an SQL data source. I already have the SQL query that retrieves the data. For the sake of simplicity, I'm using SQLite. The query returns just 3 rows and 3 columns. We have a timestamp column with CPU utilization samples collected 10 minutes apart for a server named Server1. Now let's go back to Grafana and look at the graph. As you can see, the graph contains exactly 3 points with a 10-minute interval between each point. The first point is at 3:08 and 30 seconds p.m., the second at 3:18 and 30 seconds p.m., and the last at 3:28 and 30 seconds p.m. If we recall what we covered in the previous video, we talked about max data points, min interval, and interval. We can already see that the interval value is 15 seconds, but that is clearly not the spacing between the points. You can also change the interval value to 60 seconds, and the spacing between the data points will still remain 10 minutes, as you can see. To summarize, regardless of the interval setting, the graph remains unchanged. So what's happening here? Unlike Prometheus, where we were able to control the results returned by Prometheus through Grafana by changing the query interval, and SQL data source behaves differently. Also, notice that there is no min step setting for a basic SQL data source, because that setting doesn't apply to SQL queries. As we saw in the previous video, Prometheus evaluates queries at the timestamps requested by Grafana and returns the corresponding results. A basic SQL query, on the other hand, simply returns the rows that exist in the database. It does not generate additional results between them. There are several ways to change this. One option is to modify the SQL query itself. However, in the next video, we'll focus on the Grafana approach and see how to accomplish the same thing by using the resample expression. For this video, my goal was simply to demonstrate that different Grafana data sources behave differently, even though they are displayed using the same graph panel.